Hi students, welcome to NIRS Education. So we are discussing the agricultural practices. So in that we are in the concept of protection from the weeds. So the weeds means the plants which are grown with the crops unwantedly. The unwanted plants which are grown along with the crops, those are called the weeds. So commonly we have already seen that along with the crops themselves, some undesirable plants they are going to grow. So they are going to compete with the crops for the space, for the water. So the unwanted plants, those which are going to grow along with the crops, those are called the weeds. So they are going to compete with the crops for the purpose of the space, for the light, for the water, for the nutrients. So that is very necessary to remove these unwanted things from the group of the crops. So the removal of the weeds is called the weeding. The removal of the weeds is called the weeding. So it is very necessary, since the growth of the plants, because when the seeds sprouts, from that time to the production of the yield, so we are going to provide all the necessary nutrients, water and everything. So along with the crops, these weeds are going to grow again and again. So at that time we have to take the initiation in the removal of these unwanted plants. So they affect the growth of the crops. Some weeds interfere even in harvesting, and maybe they are going to become very poisonous for animals and the human beings also. The poisonous plants which are going to grow along with the crops, so they will be very harmful for the animals as well as the human beings. So farmers adopt many ways to remove these unwanted plants to control their growth. So tilling before sowing of the crops helps in uprooting and killing of the weeds, which may then dry up and get mixed with the soil. So the best time for the removal of weeds is before they produce flowers and seeds. So here the best time for the removal of weeds is before they produce the flowers and seeds, because if they produce the seeds, so then after the seeds will fall there only, and again there will be a chance of growing the unwanted plants. So that's why we have to remove them before they produce the flowers and seeds. The manual removal includes the physical removal of weeds by uprooting or cutting them close to the ground or from the different time. So this is done with the help of the different kinds of the tools which we are using from the very ancient times. So the tools which are used to remove the unwanted plants, they are like the kurpi, and the seed drill is also going to be used to uproot the weeds. So sickle, that is called as the sickle, that we called as the kurpi in Kannada language, that is going to be used for the removal of the unwanted plants. So the weeds are also controlled by using nowadays by spraying the chemicals. Those are called the weedicides. Nowadays, to control the growth of the unwanted plants, we are going to use many chemicals. So those are called the weedicides. So that is like 2,4-D. So these are the chemicals which are going to kill, and they will stop the growth of the unwanted plants. So they will identify the plants and which are necessary. So depends on the crops, the weedicides are going to be used. So that chemical will identify the weeds as well as the crops, and it will kill only the weeds, not the crops. So these are sprayed in the fields to kill the weeds. So they do not damage the crops also. So the weedicides are diluted with water to the extent required and sprayed in the fields with the help of the sprayer. Already you know how it is going to be spray into the crops. So by a hand pump machine is going to be used for the spraying of the weedicides. So as we already mentioned, that the weedicides are sprayed during the vegetative growth of the weeds before the flowering and seeds formation. This spraying of weedicides may affect the health of the farmers, and also that will affect on the quality of the soil. So they should use these chemicals very carefully and in less quantity also. So we should not go for again and again for these chemicals to kill the weeds, because they will change the pH value of the soil. So that is very dangerous. So while spraying the chemicals to the weeds, so the farmers should cover their nose and mouth with the face mask, what we are using now for the purpose of controlling the coronavirus. So that should be made by the cloth during spraying the weedicides. We have to use this properly. Okay, so this is what we called the very important process, that is called the protection of the crops from the weeds. So if you have any doubts regarding this one, you can send the messages to my WhatsApp number. Thank you and have a nice day.